Hi everyone, Robin here to show you how I do what I'm calling the Tunisian crisscross stitch. I saw a picture online, isn't that gorgeous? And I had to, boy my screen is dirty, that's funny. And I just had to figure out how to do it in crochet because I don't knit, and I've tried before and it's just not my thing. So I tried crochet, and knowing that Tunisian is similar to knit in some ways, I figured I'd try that because I looked everywhere, and I asked in almost every single crochet group I'm in if anyone knew of a crochet stitch that resembled this. And I got nada, so I had to figure it out for myself, and this is what I came up with. I'm not sure if this is the best light to show this stitch, but there you have it. So it is a 2-row repeat and any number of stitches. And later in the video, so stay tuned, I'm going to show you how I made this cowl. I made it flat and did the join. It's kind of like a join as you go. But this is the join right here. And you really can't tell. So that'll be towards the end. All right. This stitch is, as I said, a 2-row repeat and any number of stitches. A couple of things to know about it. It's a wide stitch, so it's dense and it's wide. And one of the things you need to do when you're making your foundation is to make it very loose. I'm using a 6mm hook for this yarn, which is DK weight, but for the foundation, I'm going to use an 8mm hook. And I prefer an I-cord because this stitch in particular is 2 loops for every stitch, and you'll see what I mean when we get the foundation row going. So I do an I-cord. It's very easy. I know it seems very loose, but I promise you it won't be too loose. The French student me wants to say, too loose of the trek. Oh no, that's not even funny. All right. So how I do my borders, because I like a fortified border, if you will, because when I have just one loop for the borders, they get wonky. They're hard to keep consistent. So for my first stitch, I'm going to go into the back loop and have 2 loops. And then I'm going to do that, go through both loops for the first stitch, under both, and then go under the back one for the second one. So you've got 2 loops for every stitch of your foundation chain. And just continue that all the way across. You should end with an even number of stitches. For the last one, don't ask me why, but it looks nicer on the edge when you do the first one in the back and the second stitch in both. It really doesn't matter on the rest of them. Okay, now again, if you want to do your ends traditionally, don't do that back loop stitch in the front and the extra stitch in the end. Only do it for the stitches of the pattern. I'm showing you the way I do it. So for this way, you're going to pull through 2, and then for the stitch, you're going to pull through 3 all the way across. That's your 2 stitches, 2 loops per stitch. Okay, now for my borders, I do a twisted knit stitch into that second one there. Now we're starting the stitches in the pattern. For the first row of the repeat, you want to do it not super loose, but generously loose. So you're starting off and you're going to do a knit stitch through 2, and make sure you've got both loops at the back too. The 2 loops from both stitches on the back of your hook. And then in the same stitch, you're going to do a simple stitch. So a knit stitch through 2, and then a simple stitch through the same 2. And you see how I'm pulling up? I'm making these pretty loose because the second row of the repeat are twisted stitches, and if you're familiar with them, you know it's difficult to work into them if the tension is too high. So continue that all the way across. And for my end stitch, I do a knit stitch into the first stitch of the 2, and then I do through all 3, the 2 stitches and the back, that back V part of the stitch that you normally do in Tunisian. Pull through 2. It's always pull through 2. If you do the ends the way I'm doing them, it's pull through 2 at the beginning and then pull through 3 all the way across. So doing my start stitch, I call it my start stitch. Okay, so the second row of the repeat is in some ways exactly the opposite of the first row of the repeat. So the first row of the repeat was a knit stitch through 2. We're going to do a twisted simple stitch. Now how I affect that, there's many ways you can do it. You can pull these to a side and bring your hook up through it. And then you're going to do a twisted knit stitch through the same stitch. So another way to do it is pull them up like that with your hook, and then go around and do your twisted simple stitch that way, and then your twisted knit. So however works for you. It depends on the yarn you're using, the hook you're using, whatever works easiest for you. Pull up with your twisted simple and your twisted knit. Twisted simple, twisted knit. So you're always working those 2 loops together. That's what gives us that unique look. Oops, that is, I almost worked into the return pass chain. That's all there is to it. We'll do another repeat of the repeats. Okay, so we are on first row of the repeat, a knit stitch through 2 and a simple stitch through 2. Knit stitch through 2, simple stitch through 2. And we will do the second row of the repeat, the twisted row. So twisted simple. So we do a knit stitch and then a simple stitch, and then the second row, it's a simple knit, but both twisted. Twisted simple, twisted knit, twisted simple. Make sure when you're doing your twisted knit stitch that you got 2 bars in the back from both. You want to make sure you're going in the middle. So not like this. Don't only pick one of those up. Again, remember when you're doing the first repeat of the row to make them a little on the looser side. It makes doing this stitch so much easier and faster, and y'all know I love less fiddly. So okay, now I'm going to show you how I connect them in the round. I'm not going to do an example per se because I don't have a corded hook handy, but I'm going to show you how I do it. When you're doing in the round, you're going to work all the stitches, so there's no end and start stitch. So you're going to treat these as stitches. So this is your last, this would be your last stitch. And what you're going to do is you're going to go through the top and bottom loop of the return pass stitch. You're going to take your loop, pull it through, and chain one and pull that tight. Now, this was my end stitch, but I'm going to work it. And you also might want to, because of the way the join pulls on this, you also might want to mark your last stitch, because you're going to have to remember to work into that too. And let me tell you, it's easy to miss it, forget it, or poke into the wrong spot. So I was marking mine. And I don't usually mark stitches. Don't usually have to, but in some cases. And that's it. And you're just going to keep working around. When you do your pull through, so you're gonna work it like it's flat, because you're gonna work around to the end with your loops all on a cord, and then pull back through and do a reverse pass. This extra loop here, just pull through that right along with this stitch. I'm gonna show you again what it looks like. I have to find it. It's funny. So I was experimenting with this. I'll let you see the odd part. This is the part I hadn't quite headed down yet. I was trying to figure out the best way to do it. And you can see as we go, we get to here, and this is the join right here. So started out not so great, but I figured it out. That's it. Hope you like it.